are really pleased and delighted to have you in this interview for the first time for Tunisian Radio.
Yeah, my pleasure.
And my first question is about your success story. What's the key of success for Nicolas Zastroum?
I think it's being determined and wanting to have an impact. When I've been building my businesses, it's about I want to achieve something, but also want to have an impact. And I think that if you look at most of the successful technology entrepreneurs, they're driven by change, to drive a change to make something better. And that's certainly been my drive. And today I'm very focused on helping entrepreneurs to build their companies, to achieve success and to build big companies using technology, and also using that those companies also to have impact and solve big problems in the world.
Mm-hmm. In many of your interviews, you focused on the main idea. Practically, you can choose to be a big company in your country, but you will only be a big company there. How can you explain that?
Well, the internet is borderless, so I think you have to choose when you're an entrepreneur if you want to build a company that can be a really good fit for your domestic market, or if you want to build something that can be more of an international business. And that's but I think also, so that's just a choice what you have to do, if you get a product market fit for your home market, maybe you can say, well, there are actually other markets in the region that has similar characteristics, and then why not expand your business into those other markets as well.
Mm-hmm. What are the keys of success of hubs for technic startups such as Silicon Valley, Stockholm, or Helsinki?
I think there is. You need to have time for start with, and you need to start somewhere. And typically, what we've seen here in Stockholm, it started with a few companies having some moderate success, and then what happens then is that one company maybe have lucky enough to have a breakout. Then those founders become role models for the next generation, and you have people working for these successful companies. They're going out. At some point, they leave and start their own companies. And if the original founders maybe have some success, and they can then start to mentor and provide angel investment to the next generation. And what's happened then in Stockholm, what you can see now, is that you have several companies that have been started by people who worked for the previous generation of startups. And as a consequence, you have the best students at the universities, both at business schools and technical universities, are then choosing to either start their own companies or join a startup. So this is how these ecosystems are being built.
What is the new idea, inspiration, or innovation that impressed you?
Well, I think what's really interesting now is that the big technology that we will see having a big impact in the next 10 years is artificial intelligence. Now, this is a technology that existed for many, many years, but we've seen some breakthroughs in the last few years. And while mobile has really been a big driver in the previous 10 years, we predict that artificial intelligence will be a big driver in the next 10 years. And you can see here at Slush, there's a lot of companies talking about artificial intelligence or machine learning as another term of it. But this is just technology using data to improve things and make things more efficient, and it will be applied across the board.
But especially a name of company now?
That is hard to say, because this is something that all companies are, not all, but a lot of companies are using. So there are so many fantastic companies that are scaling up now, so it's hard to single out one specific company.
Okay. We are living in the area of internationalization and globalization. So do you think that a small, talented entrepreneur with an excellent idea implemented in his small country in which the ecosystem is very poor could succeed?
Absolutely. And this is what we've seen. 10 years ago, everyone said you had to be in Silicon Valley to create a tech company. Now they've proven that you can be anywhere in Europe. But we're also seeing great companies coming out of places like Sao Paulo in Brazil, and several places in Asia. So I think that this is something that's happening everywhere. But you have to have some patience. But for sure, there's no reason why you will not have a great tech company coming out of Tunisia. I think initially you will see some small companies maybe focusing on the local market, and then over time you will see bigger companies.
Currently, you are an investor after selling Skype to Microsoft. Why have you made this decision?
Well, we when we were creating Skype,
Did you sell?
yes, we sold.
Yeah.
Yeah, we sold Skype. So we wanted to build a global company that could really exist for many, many years and be one of the fabrics of the internet. And then, but back then, we had a lot of competition coming along, and we wanted to do an IPO, and Microsoft came along and made a great offer for the company, and we thought it was the right thing to do at the time. But that's also enabled me to create Atomico, which is the venture capital firm I'm running today. So what we're doing now is that we're investing in multiple companies every year and helping those younger companies to scale. So I think this is an opportunity for me to use my experience and experience of the team and working with me to help.
Did you think to invest in other countries and discover other culture and other talented persons, like in Tunisia, for example?
Right now, we're very focused on Europe. We've made a few investments in places like Brazil and in Asia. We haven't yet explored.
Why not in Tunisia and Africa?
Yeah. I think that it's hard for us to invest in companies that are further away, because you really need to understand the local market. So I think the best investors in Tunisia will be local investors, actually, because they understand the local challenges and opportunities. But over time, aspirationally, of course, I would love to see great companies coming from there and maybe invest in one of those companies.
How could you detect talented people in general?
It's hard. Talented people are people who are talented entrepreneurs. Are people who are driven to. They're on a mission to accomplish something. They have a great passion. They live and breathe what they're doing, and you should see it in their eyes that there's a fire there, and they have this passion to succeed, but also to spending all their time getting to understand their specific market.
Do you have a message to address to young Tunisians who are listening to you on our radio, Express FM?
Sure. So I think that if you feel that you want to start a company and you think you have a great idea, you should not hesitate to do it. And typically people are afraid of going out to do it because there's a risk that you fail. And for me, that was a thing that held me back to start my companies. I had a good job, and I thought, well, if I go out and start my own company, maybe I'll fail, and what happens then? But then what I learned was that failure is not a failure. Failure is learning. That's the best experience, maybe, that you go out to start a company. It doesn't work. You learn something from it, and you can start another company. Just make sure you don't spend too much money before you can prove the business. But I think it's a great thing to start a company, and if you feel that you have it in you, you should just go out and do it. Don't hesitate.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks.